Hi, I'm Sean Reardon, Mayor of Newburyport, and welcome to the latest edition of the Mayor's Corner. It has been a beautiful week here in Newburyport, and it's funny, in the winter I am so aware of the weather, right? I'm always looking ahead, seeing if we got storms coming our way, what kind of prep are we going to need. But for the next 10 days or so, again, it looks pretty beautiful. In fact, we got a day coming up in a couple days that will get up to 60 degrees. So far February looks pretty mild, but we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the winter goes. But I hope everyone's having a great week out there. We're having a great week here at City Hall. Just a couple things. A very happy belated birthday to my mom, Patty Reardon. She turned 72 last week. Actually, she turned it Monday this week, 72, so happy birthday, Mom. It was great. We celebrated on Sunday. And just for those of you, I talked about my Aunt Judy, Judy Fuller, last Mayor's Corner. Her celebration of life is tomorrow at Michael's Harborside from 1 to 4. So if you knew Judy or knew the Fuller family or Page family, you want to come pay your respects, that's happening tomorrow, 1 to 4 at Michael's Harborside upstairs. But it'll be great because most of my family's coming in town for it. And it'll just great to all be together to celebrate my Aunt Judy because she was really, really one of the best. And, she's very, very missed. What else is going on? So I wanted to give you a quick update on Whittier. I know we thought we had this vote and it was it and we're going to be done with it, but nope, we're not done with it, and there's a lot more that still needs to be done. So I do plan on giving updates as we continue to move forward here. We had a meeting this week. The superintendent of Whittier, Maureen Lynch, invited the leaders of the 11 communities to Whittier for a kind of a debrief, I guess I would call it, in a next steps meeting. And I thought it went really well. I thought it was cordial. I think the 11 communities were very frank with the superintendent about their thoughts about the vote, why it went the way it did. Mistakes that were made, I would say, for sure was talked about. And then we talked about how we move on from this. How do we move forward? I can tell you I've reached out to all 11 communities. So I guess there's 3 tracks I want to talk about how we move forward with Whittier, okay? I think that first track is the regional agreement, right? So I have talked to all 11 communities and they seem to be on board with all working together. And this will take a long time. This isn't a quick fix, but working together to update that regional agreement. Because I think each community has things that they would like to see changed. Again, this is a 50-year-old agreement. It's amazing it's never been updated before, right? Even just a quick look at it, you can see multiple areas where oh my goodness, this should have been updated many, many years ago. So in Newburyport, as you know, we've already kind of started this process. I've brought in a law firm to kind of look at this. We were looking at this weeks and months ago, right? Because we knew that vote could have gone one way or the other. So how do we look at that regional agreement and how do we make it more, more up to date to today's standards? And how do we? There's a lot of things that we'd like to see in there that would be more beneficial to Newburyport, not just to Newburyport, but a lot of the other communities as well. So I've suggested that we start a task force, Whittier task force, and that will be made up of local leaders and then elected officials. Again, because in towns, for instance, you have town managers, town administrators, but I do think those select board members or those city councilors also have to be part of this conversation, because however long this takes and we get down to the end and we have a finished product that we think is a good version of an updated agreement, that would then need to go to each of the 11 cities and towns to be ratified. So that's what I proposed. Everyone seems on board with it, so we're going to continue in that fashion. And I'll just say, for a Newburyport standpoint, we're putting together a memo right now that I will end up sharing with those 11 communities about what opportunities we see in the regional agreement to make some changes. And I would say the second track, so that's the first track. The second track is, all right, what's next for Whittier, right? What's next steps? And I do think that task force could be helpful with next steps too, right? I will tell you that Maureen Lynch seemed to really take to heart what the vote told us. Really, such a resounding no vote. Again, a 10,000 vote gap. That was a pretty definitive answer from the communities about again, the project that was presented and how it was presented, and the facts and not facts that were presented. So again, we were all very frank with the superintendent about where we saw missteps. And again, to me, I think Whittier made every misstep they could possibly make. Anytime there was a time to make a decision, I think Whittier made the wrong decision. And I think voters noticed that. And I think that's why the vote was so soundly defeated. So in any case, how do we move forward? So she indicated to us that this year they don't foresee any capital asks of the community, right? I mean, I think the message all along was, if this vote fails, you're going to get a bigger bill. I've been told this is not going to happen. They are going to take a very thoughtful look at the building and then decide what that plan looks like over the next 5-10 years to make some improvements to that building, which again is, I think, the responsible way to go. Another thing that she mentioned is that Whittier and Merrimack are talking about tapping into Merrimack's sewer. Again, would be a fraction of the cost of building a brand new wastewater treatment plant, which was another thing that was talked about during the campaign. So that was good news that that's happening. I mean, I think they're right around a mile or less than a mile away to tap into Merrimack's sewer. So that was really good news that those types of things are happening. You know, unfortunately, because it was such a short window, I think there was a lot of misinformation out there around this vote. So now that the vote is over, now we can really take a hard look at what needs to be done and what could be done and pick a path forward. So that's the second tract. And they're going to be talking about this Tuesday, February 13th, at the first Whittier School Committee meeting since the vote. And that's at 6:30 at Whittier. But I will be attending that meeting. But, you know, the superintendent will update the school committee on, you know, what she's heard and what she's learned of since then, and then next steps. So again, that's that second tract. And I would say the third tract is more on the state legislator side. So I continue to work with my two state legislators, Representative Shan and Senator Tarr. And I think they're going to really try to keep the other state legislators in the area together and involved. And looking at the state level, I mean, besides the agreement that will eventually have to go through them to the state level, that's one piece of that. But the other piece is looking at the MSBA process in general. You know, I don't want other districts to go through what we just went through. I don't want the MSBA to continue to look at a elementary school the same way they look at a vocational high school. I mean, those are two very different projects, and you know, one is a lot more expensive than the other. So how can we make changes at the state level to, one, help vocational schools in the future, but also have safeguards in place for communities that weren't involved in these very expensive processes and what they're asking of communities as well. So I think there is a role for the state there. So I think that's that third track that we'll be working on. So that's pretty much my update now, but I was encouraged after the meeting because I do think that Whittier has recognized a lot of the mistakes that have been made. And I think now, you know, again, one of the good things that happened out of this vote was all these communities have been working really well together, collaborating. And so I think this task force will allow us to keep doing that. So that's the Whittier update right now. I just want to say congrats to the Anna Jakes Hospital nurses. They have been looking for a new contract for a long time now, a fair contract, and they came to an agreement earlier this week. So kudos to Anna Jakes Hospital, Dr. Folk, and then also the Anna Jakes Hospital nurses for coming together, coming to an agreement. And, you know, again, that was great news to hear about that, because I know, you know, the nurses were fighting for a new contract for a long time. What else is going on? So Bartlett Mall. So there was an article that came out this week. So Bartlett Mall, we went out to bid again, and the bids came back almost double what we thought they would be. Again, we're talking millions of dollars here, right? I mean, we thought it'd be, you know, a certain amount, and then it came back, you know, a couple $1 million more than what we thought. And that was crushing because we've worked on this since I took office. You know, we really value that project. I think the Bartlett Mall is one of the jewels in the city. I love the work that's already been happening up there. If you look at the front of the mall with the new playground and the new walkway that came in, that looks absolutely beautiful. So we're excited about that project. But when the bids came back so high, right? Again, it was incredibly disappointing. So, you know, when we say we're putting it on the shelf, it's just we just can't afford that right now. And we're using Community Preservation Committee funds, right? Community Preservation Act funds for this project. The most responsible thing to do is to release those funds, right? Because we were going to bond for that money, because we have a list of CPA projects that are out there that this money could go to. So the hope is, and we just had a meeting this morning with our grants administrator and my team here. We had a meeting this morning around grants and what different pockets of funds that we can now go out and look for this project. And when we do find them, we will be absolutely going back before the CPC, the Community Preservation Committee, and asking to bond for this project once we've located the funds that can cover it. That's where we're at. We totally value that project. Kim Turner, this was crushing. All the work she had put into it. She's my special projects manager. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions that are just the most responsible decision fiscally for the city. Those permits that we fought so hard to get from all these different organizations for that work are good for 3 years. So now we've got a window here of trying to make up the extra funding for that project. So again, it's on the shelf, it's still a priority, but we're gonna have to locate some more funding because the costs just came in way, way too high for that project. What else is going on? The rec center project, communication is out there. So we had submitted a communication to the city council. Some city councilors thought that it would be better to come in as an order. So we've reworded that. So that's coming in the packet. So they'll have that on Monday, and then that will get sent to the community services subcommittee, and then we can have another presentation on the rec center. We're working on some alternative funding resources and as well that could help bring down the overall cost to the city. So we're going to keep having those conversations, and in the meantime the city council can start talking about it. But I think we're still moving in a really positive direction, and so we're excited about the rec center at 59 Low Street. I sent out a press release this week for boards and commissions. Again, this is one of the best things I get to do as mayor is appoint people to these important volunteer boards and commissions. We're about to have a State of the City address that talks a lot about our boards and commissions, and we're about to have our Public and Community Services Award. That's our second year doing this, where a lot of people last year from our boards and commissions were recognized. So I just think they're incredibly important. So check out the boards and commissions opening. Go to the city website. You'll see it right away, some of the places we're looking for. And if you want to get involved, it's just a great way to give back to your city. Put your time and put your talents and put your expertise to work for the city, and it just makes it a better place for everybody. So check that out. Again, it's one of the best things I get to do is look for ways to get other people involved in our city government. And I think that's my Mayor's Corner this week. Let's just end with this. We're in winter sports season, and we're heading to the end of it, right? So we're starting state tournaments. A big congratulations to the boys indoor track team. They just won the Cal Open. Newburyport boys won their division for basketball. They had a tough loss the other night to Manchester, but I know they're going to be a really tough team in Division 3. The girls basketball is having a good year. They're going to have hopefully a good run in the tournament. And then both boys and girls hockey have had good seasons, particularly the boys beating BC High the other day. So there's a lot of good things going on for Newburyport sports. So keep an eye out on that once state tournament starts here in the next couple of weeks. And that's my Mayor's Corner. So get out there, enjoy this beautiful weather while we have it, and I will see you all next time on the Mayor's Corner.